Hello, everybody. It's Mr. Post again for government. We're going to go over Chapter 2 notes. And let me present my screen so you guys can see what I'm seeing. All righty. Okay. Chapter 2 notes is about government and the foundation of government. That's a little joke. Respect my authority. If you don't know South Park, this is going to be lost on you. But essentially, Cartman's always looking to have full power, and there's different types of government that share power or not share power. So why do we have a government at all? Well, government applies rules to people and makes it so that people are treated fairly, and it's not the jungle out there or the Wild West where people make their own rules and people are punished for crimes that they commit, or they do think when someone feels like they're treated unfairly, they have repercussions. They can go somewhere and get retribution. So they create rules and they protect us from anarchy, no government or laws at all. And some people want that, but most people enjoy having the security. Like rules mean security and predictability, and that's what government oftentimes creates is predictability and security. What type of levels are there? There's the local government, which the city of Collinsville, for most of you, is what is your local government, and then there's a county government, and then there's state government, and then there's the federal government, which is like the president, the Supreme Court, and Congress. There's several different types of government. There's absolute monarchy, which is a king or queen rules the country. There are very few of these left. Saudi Arabia, Morocco, and Brunei have those types of government. The thing you have to remember about an absolute monarch is that whatever they say goes. And if you tease them or make fun of them or criticize them, then sometimes that can have serious repercussions. There was a story a couple years ago where the Saudi Arabian prince didn't like what a writer was writing about him and his way he's running the country. And so he put a hit out on him, and this writer was found in Greece and never to be heard of again because these men came and killed him. And it was by order of the Saudi Arabian prince. Now, this wouldn't be that big a news in this country, except for the fact that we sell a lot of weapons to Saudi Arabia, including F-15 fighter jets and other types of equipment that possibly could create a war. It's also a lot of money goes into Saudi Arabia for weapons from us. So they buy weapons from us. We also get a lot of oil from Saudi Arabia as well. So it was a very complicated issue because a lot of people wanted the government to do something about this prince putting a hit out on a writer and stifling him in essence. And the government didn't do anything really. Now, a total dictatorship is one person or a small group of people who violently control people through the use of force and intimidation. Now, this is in jest, obviously, but this is me as a young man, taught 10 years ago, so you can see how much I've aged since when I first started teaching till now. But in my room, there isn't a democracy. It's what are the rules I create. And so there are dictatorships out there. Kim Jong-un comes to mind. When you talk about they're the only people that are creating rules and laws. No other parts of the government are. It's just them. Oops. So, give me a second here. I'm gonna see if I can. That wasn't supposed to be there. Let me edit this real quick. Here we go. Sorry about that. All right. So a democracy is a people. A democracy is, there's two types. There's direct democracy, and there's people who vote for laws that are proposed. So that means that everybody gets a say. So if we were in class, everybody would get a vote on. So if, let's say that one of the rules that we're going to create is that everybody gets to use the bathroom only 3 times a year during class periods, and everybody would vote on that. And if it got voted down, then it got voted down. Or everybody should be able to use the bathroom whenever they want. Well, if we were voted down, it was voted down. Or if it was passed, it was passed. And I only get 1 vote, and everybody else in the room would get 1 vote as well. A representative democracy would be something like if we were to take someone from our class and they would represent our classroom in a council of all the other students, and they represented our interests. So they would listen to us. We would take all our different opinions in account, and then they would vote in the different parts of the vote on rules in the school to decide whether or not how the school be run. So we're a republic, and that means it's a representative democracy. We take people from our area, we elect them, and then they go to Washington or the state government up north in Springfield to represent our interests and vote accordingly when they're trying to pass laws. What does government do? What does our government do? Well, we are based off the United States Constitution. So what that means is that we have a document that lists all the different things that our government is allowed to do according to this piece of paper that says that 9 out of the 13 states had agreed on it first. So why do we have the Constitution? Well, there was a ruler called King George of England, and we used to be a colony of England. And so what that means is that we were ruled by England. We were England's property, and we were taxed as if we didn't have any say in the matter. We were just taxed because that was what King George wanted to do. We had a war, a French and Indian War, and it was expensive. He needed to make up some money somewhere. So he said, we're going to tax the colonies more because it was their war. It was their war. They should pay for it. Well, we didn't like how he was doing. We didn't have anybody to represent us in Parliament to pass those taxes and kind of bring up the fact that, like, hey, maybe we should have fair taxes and what have you, and at least voice our opinion. We didn't have any representation, and so we started getting really mad, and then there's backlash from the British government and the King of England, and eventually we decided to write the Declaration of Independence to gain our freedom. So in 1776, the revolution breaks out. Why? Well, we wrote what's called the Declaration of Independence in the Second Continental Congress, and that was written by Thomas Jefferson. And Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, and John Adams all collaborated on this project, but mainly Thomas Jefferson, and wrote a really concise document that allows, basically saying to England, you're not our boss anymore, we're free. Now, the thing is that England didn't believe that, and so they decided to go to war with us and squash this rebellion. And eventually they lost. We got some help from the French, some help from the Polish and various other people, and we were able to win the Revolutionary War. And we became independent, our own independent country, which was a pretty new concept at the time. So who wrote it? It was Thomas Jefferson, who signed it. The biggest, it was John Hancock. And that's why that, like, put your John Hancock here. Could you write your John Hancock? That is a United States reference of another word for signature. Oops. The Declaration of Independence was a list of demands to England. Certain unalienable rights among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Did this apply to all people? No. Only white males who own property. So African Americans? No. Slaves? No. Women? No. Any other minority? No. Only white males were part of this, the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Eventually, by 1919, when the women finally get the right to vote in the 19th Amendment, they eventually do have the ability to be a full member of our country, a full citizen. But that's a long time from 1776. That's over 100, approximately 125 years, 130, well, almost 150 years. That's a long time to wait for the vote. And so the United States, even though it was in a perfect world, sounded great, but in a lot of ways it was very flawed. After the Revolutionary War, we needed a government. America's first government was the Articles of Confederation, and it was not a good government. It was horrible government, in fact. We were just a loose association of states, not even a country. In the Articles, they had a lot of problems. Each state only got one vote. It had a weak central government, didn't have a president, so we didn't have a leader. No court system to be able to have disputes actually listened to and then judged and decided on. And then it took 9 out of 13 votes to pass a law. So if you didn't have the votes, no laws were being passed. And that was the big issue, is that nothing was getting done. There was a lot of states that were just had their own money, and they were taxing people to come into taxing goods coming in and out of the states. It was as if there were 13 other countries that belonged to a kind of union. And that's not what the United States was about. So that's where the Constitution came to play. James Madison is known as the father of the Constitution. And because of him, he was helped negotiate a lot of the different hotly debated topics. He also was the writer and like the language in which it was being used. Excuse me. And so James Madison essentially, not single-handedly, but helped save the United States of America as we know it. What did they write down in the Constitution? Well, there's 3 branches of government. And if you watch the Ed puzzle that was assigned, you know what I'm talking about. These 3 branches of government are the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. The legislative branch creates laws, is in charge of money, and has other powers. You can declare war, can make taxes, what have you. Executive branch can veto or sign a bill. They enforce the laws. They're in charge of the military, and they also can, they also can do executive orders. Judicial branch sometimes is known as the weakest, but also has very crucial moments in history where they determine how a law should be interpreted. Legislative branch makes the laws, elects the people, elected by you, the people. Executive branch enforces the laws. People elect the president of the United States. And the judicial branch interprets the laws of the land, declares laws unconstitutional, and they punish lawbreakers. And they're appointed by the president and then approved by the Senate. So the Senate and the president are both people that are voted in by the people. So the way that all this came about, why do we have a Senate and a House of Representatives? What was called the Great Compromise. And what that is that some states, smaller states, only want to have just as much power as all the other states. So they thought they should only get 2 senators each. And the bigger states were like, whoa, what, shouldn't the people be deciding? Like, so like places like Virginia and New York, they wanted to have it by population so that they would be a quote better representation of where the people are. They were both had good arguments. So what they did was they made 2 separate houses that had to work together. They were separate, but they also were being the laws cannot be passed if both parts of the government, the legislative branch, do not approve it. So the ratification and approval of the Constitution occurred in 1789. Now do your math real quick. 1776, 1789. That wasn't right away. That means that 13 years approximately had gone by with us either in a revolutionary war or a government that was slapped together right after the Revolutionary War and was not really thought through. And what ended up happening was almost a crumble of the United States. With the ratification of the Constitution in 1789, all of a sudden the government was structured a lot more fairly, and also in a lot of ways more perfectly, because it didn't allow too much. It allowed people to have power, but it also made sure the other branches made sure that they could be in check and balance each other out. And actually, the United States Constitution is the oldest working government today. Most governments do not last long. The Constitution is fairly brilliant, in fact, because of how vague and flexible it is, and also how the balance of power is distributed. So the political parties were created during this time period. It was the Federalists wanted a strong national government, and Anti-Federalists wanted a strong state governments. And the Federalists were led by Alexander Hamilton. You might recognize him from the play, and Thomas Jefferson. You heard his name before because he was the one who wrote the Declaration of Independence. And he didn't want a president, and he didn't want to have a strong central government because he thought that the state governments should rule themselves. And he had a point, like, shouldn't they be able to have some sort of sovereignty? And Alexander Hamilton's thought was, listen, like, you have to have a strong national government, or else you're just going to have chaos because there won't be one message. And we're seeing some of that today. So that is the end of that. Let me get back to here. Stop presenting. So, guys, to conclude our chapter 2 lesson, make sure that you watch this and that you're going to have a test coming up soon. So please make sure that you look at your notes and do the homework so you're prepared for the test. All right. Have a good one.